Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're taking a look at Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour Edition for the Nintendo Switch. Now, is it good to see the king back, or would we have been best just leaving him to rest? Well, first off, thank you so much to Gearbox Publishing for the code. But with that, hit subscribe if you love the Switch much we all do here. Join our growing family, and let's get started. The story, and well, to be honest, there's very little of it. This is very much a game of 1996. Crashing on Earth, though, aliens have invaded and Duke is the man out to save the day. And that's really all there is to it, but what it lacks in story and plot points, it more than makes up for with its trademark Duke sense of humour. While it's for sure not PC, there's something just absolutely hilarious about it, and for the most part, it just stands the test of time and shows why he is such a beloved character. So gameplay, and you can pretty much thank Duke Nukem for the popularity of the 3D first-person shooter alongside the likes of Doom. This game actually packages in the original 4 chapters, so LA Meltdown, Lunar Apocalypse, Shrapnel City and The Birth. But then to round out the package, we also get a new chapter in Alien World Order. This one, it's adding in 7 new levels that take place after the conclusion of the original game, and they see you travelling around the world kicking alien ass. When it comes to controls, then they transition, I've gotta say, perfectly to the Switch, with its fast-paced style of gunplay just feeling absolutely at home on the console. Here I expect a variety of weapons as well, including a new addition in the form of the Incinerator. This one, it basically fires balls of fire at alien scum, and it's a great addition to the already entertaining arsenal. My favourite though, it's always going to be that shotgun. Perhaps most impressively though for this Switch build, it's a couple of very specific adds in the form of HD rumble and gyro aiming. While the HD rumble, it's a nice touch but not necessarily a game changer, it's the gyro that really impressed me, and it surprisingly fits into the fast-paced action we have on offer here. I wasn't sure how it would work, honestly. With shooters of recent years, they very much slowed down the pace and accommodated these more precision moments. Well, look, I can tell you this, not only does it work, but it makes everything feel just a little bit more manic. It's a good feeling for a game that's literally built its name around intensity. Here, the motion control though is on at pretty much all times. You don't need to aim down a scope or anything. Literally, as you move, you can move this screen about, and it just feels really good. There's even some options to make some adjustments to its sensitivity. They've gone absolutely all out. This was never intended to change the game though, this release, or modernise it. It's absolutely a love letter to a game that impacted a generation that I myself was a part of, and it honestly still feels as good today as it did then, though you will still be thankful for how far we've now come in the industry. Last up really for gameplay, it's worth knowing this is not complete sadly, and that is a little disappointing, but it's missing a few of the DLCs that did come out back in the 90s, instead focusing on that core experience. Options wise as well, if you do want to tweak anything with the controls here, it's worth knowing, and this puts most games of this generation to shame honestly, that is fully customizable controller mapping. On top of this as well, the last thing I want to talk about, it also has one of the best reload systems I've ever seen. When you die here, you can literally rewind to any prior moment and choose where to jump back in. It's a nice quality of life improvement to see here that cuts out the lengthy scenes you would need to replay if you did grow up with this first time around. Even that new chapter, it was built to feel like it was released in 1996, so it very much feels right at home. So outside of single player, then we do get just 2 other additions: Duke Match, which is basically deathmatch, and then up to 8-player co-op for the single player campaign. The kid in me from 1996 is pretty much screaming at the idea of 8-player co-op. It is incredible. If you're a Duke Nukem fan and you want to revisit the king, this is about as good as the gameplay has ever felt, in keeping with what we knew, but using the Switch's built-in functionality to its absolute advantage, and respect for doing that. So graphically speaking, it's got 2 options, the original and then the newly enhanced variation. That adds in, for the most part honestly, a few new textures, it rounds out the 3D a bit, and there's a decent jump in the lighting quality of the game. While it's hard to say it looks good by today's standards, it's the best Duke himself has ever looked. Now, while I know some may have wanted to see, a complete overhaul or smoothing done here to remove that pixelation, To me, that is the charm, so I think the small tweaks they've done are very much well done. While some things can at times, I will say, be extremely blurry close up, and navigation can be a pain at times thanks to that lack of depth these sort of visual styles provide. You know, you can't see the corner, or maybe you can't see the switch on the ground you need to pick up. But I think for the most part, this is kind of the game that I remember it in my head. If I loaded this actually up on a CRT monitor though, I'm sure it would be an absolute mess. In comparison, in the nicest possible way. When we look back, we always remember it being so much more impressive than it actually was. So I think they've struck that nice balance here of bringing that very much to the table. Sure, this image might not, you know, look sharper, but I promise you it absolutely is. So if you're new to Duke, then I'll admit it's going to take some getting used to if you didn't grow up with the genre. There's been plenty of copycats and throwback titles at this point, but this will show you a true reflection of the time. Like, look at these 2D enemies here, and the way they go flat as you move past them may seem weird, but kind of makes me smile, honestly. It's just like a quirk of the game itself. With the graphics, finally hit down on the D-pad and you can freely jump between the new cleaned up variation and the original. As I said, it's not winning any awards in 2020 for its visual design, that's for sure, but you know what? Never wanted that from this release. A quick note worth knowing as well on the visuals, some of the enemies and key cards, they can be extremely small as they're further in the distance, so handout, just be aware it's going to take a little getting used to, as I missed enemies that would end up killing me when I wasn't docked. Still works absolutely fine, it just takes a little practice and refining those pixel watching eyes. So audio then, unlike the rest of the package, it's a direct copy with enhancements. The soundtrack is suitably metal, the guns they sound okay, and the dialogue, John St. John returned and they re-recorded the dialogue while adding in some new lines. This I really liked because it gave me new Duke one-liners to experience, and if you're worried he may have, you know, gone soft, lost his edge, don't worry. It's about as politically incorrect as always, though I will say it's kind of funny to look back now and think this really offended people. It's pretty tame by today's standards, kind of like when you revisit Night Trap, except this for sure aged better. The audio is probably the weakest part of the package though. It's not that it's bad, it's just limited in what it has to offer. So overall, Duke Nukem 3D 20th World Tour, it's really doing nothing more than giving you a time capsule back to 1996, and I'm more than happy to join it for the ride. If you grew up with it, prepare to have a smile plastered across your face. If you didn't, then that may be a very different experience for you. Well, typically in a review I do my best to leave my own feelings towards, you know, a game at the door. Duke Nukem is a piece of my younger years, and that's exactly who it's designed for. If you ever had, you know, that urge to revisit this alien invasion and kick-ass, then this is the best way to do it. This though, it's not a remake, don't expect any real, you know, quality of life improvements on the gameplay. Instead, expect a whole lot of options around them to make it slightly less infuriating as this alien scum takes you down. My only request now, the missing DLC, I would love to see it make this a truly complete package. It would be amazing, and I'd be more than happy to spend a little bit extra cash to get that. With that said, they've priced it not just perfectly, but absolutely below what I would be willing to pay for this one, and with what it sets out to achieve, it absolutely succeeds. It even gives the Switch's, you know, special functionality, the HD rumble, the gyro, some love, something most AAA releases often forget to do. Hail to the King is very much in order, and an amazing 9 out of 10 today. Finding flaws with this will be easy for those that don't have the nostalgia like myself. You know, probably I'd mark this more around a 7 out of 10 if you're in that category. But for me, let's see Duke make his return and make it better than Duke Nukem forever. Thanks for watching, hit subscribe if you're new here, join our growing family. Let me know if the nostalgia of this one has you hooked, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone.